Hi, I'm your host Vasco Duarte. Welcome to the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast, where we share tips and tricks from Scrum Masters around the world. Every day, we bring you inspiring answers to important questions that all Scrum Masters face day after day. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Team Tuesday, this week with Bram De Block. Hey, Bram, welcome back.
Thank you. Good to be back.
Absolutely. So Team Tuesday, of course, is where we talk about teams, but we always start the episode by asking, what's the book that most influenced you in your career as a Scrum Master?
The book that I immediately think of, and maybe it's not just for Scrum Master, but it did help me in doing my job as Scrum Master as well, was GTD, Getting Things Done by David Allen. It has a lot of techniques where you capture everything you want to do, everything you have on your plate, in your mind, twirling around. You capture that in whatever, you can do Post-its, you can have your smartphone, whatever system you come up with, and effectively get all those items twirling in your mind out of your mind and into that system, giving you a much more calm mind as well. And it helped me a lot and being more effective, letting go of things I didn't want to forget, because I won't forget it. My system will remind me. Something I recommend to everybody listening.
Yeah, absolutely. Getting Things Done is a book that has been referred to in the past. And one of the things that I think is very important is the aspect that, David talks about that in the Getting Things Done book, is that you need a system. Now, he describes a system, and there's been many variations, like 42 folders and all of that. There's many different variations of the GTD method. But one of the things that I found more powerful from the book is that the system is there to support you. You build it, but it's there to support you. And it's very easy for us over time, not immediately, but over time, to find what are the weaker points in how we organize ourselves and then improve those. So if we take what we teach the teams about, like this continuous improvement and retrospectives, and we apply it to our own productivity system, we're going to get to something even better than GTD. But GTD really helped me to understand that concept of, as long as there's a system, it's fine. Then we can improve it later, but start with something.
And it's also fine to fall off the wagon kind of thing. It's fine to say, okay, I haven't looked at my system in a while. All you need to do is get back on now and then and say, okay, let's give it back another shot. But actually, I'm not that big of a book reader. I get most of my insights, knowledge from real life meetups, meeting up with people with the same passion, discussing experiences, challenges, learn a lot from those as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why we interview you here on the podcast, so that you can share that passion with our listeners. And talking about passion, of course, as Scrum Masters and Agile coaches, we are passionate about helping teams. And sometimes we need to help them to save them from themselves. This is the Team Tuesday podcast episode. And we want to dive into some of those patterns and behaviors, Bram, that develop over time. This is not things that, suddenly just appear, but things that develop over time that eventually lead to big problems in the team. So we'll talk about insights and how to fix it later. But tell us that story of that little pattern or behavior that over time started to create problems for the team.
Well, this was a pattern that grew before we came or went through our Agile transformation. And the problem is that it got stuck. So the team I'm thinking of, we did a great Kanban workshop together with the team. They were skeptic of the entire Kanban system. And we did the workshop. It was half a day. And everybody was really excited about what they learned. They got their workflow definition done. They aligned. They noticed, wow, we are completely not aligned. We have different expectations on when a task can move from one state to another and by what time and all that. And everybody was like really, really happy that they had this workshop. And then I said, okay, great. What's next? How are we going to now apply this to our job? And they said, oh, hold on. We want to wait for some changes in our tooling first before we continue with it. Leave us be for a while. We'll reach out to you.
So they started to find reasons not to apply what they were excited about.
Absolutely. Yeah. And what I believe happened is that they were not used to being able to make decisions and take control.
So can you give us an example of what that looked like for them? So you said as an example that, okay, so after the workshop they were excited, but they said, no, wait, we need to wait for these things to change. And of course, potentially those things are totally outside the team's control before we can do any of this, right? What made them believe this? What made them believe that these things were out of their control?
That's almost hard to say, but a lot had to do with the manager. So managers are very important, very crucial. They do a lot of good stuff, but this manager, he was simply not trusting that his team is a team of capable people. He literally said, I already know they will fail, so why would I let them? Well, we all know the biggest learnings come from failure. And if you already know they will fail, great, you can mitigate some stuff. But let them experience it, let them grow, let them have that failure. And yeah, so they are not used to experimenting, not used to being allowed to fail. So they are very, very hesitant to try anything new.
And it's funny how you describe it. The manager said, I already know that they will fail, so why should I let them do it? It's better not to do it so that they don't fail.
Yeah.
And one of the things that and this happens to Scrum Masters as well. One of the dynamics that emerges from that is that the manager was pushing his own fears or her own fears into the team, right? So the manager was afraid of failing. And because they wanted to make sure they wouldn't fail, they wanted to make sure the team wouldn't fail because that would reflect on them. But and that's kind of, we could call it, a conservative, cautious approach, if you will. But it's also a projection of that fear, right? The team might otherwise be confident that they can succeed, but because the manager projects that fear onto them, then they don't get the confidence in themselves. And this is a very important insight also for us as Scrum Masters, because if we project confidence to the team feels confidence. If we project doubt and fear to the team, then the team also feels doubtful and fearful.
Yeah, absolutely. Just give them a chance. Like give them that confidence and say, hey, it's okay to fail. Not you might succeed. You're likely succeed. Just try it out.
And also, failing is not necessarily a bad thing if we take the longer term into account, right?
Absolutely.
So a failure, even though they might be painful in the short term, it leads to a very, when managed and facilitated correctly, it leads to a very insightful process of retrospective, right? Because there's that pain, right? Like there's, okay, I feel embarrassed, ashamed that I failed, so now I want to change. And that's a very powerful motivator for change. And if we don't allow the team to fail, we're taking that motivator away. Now, of course, I'm not arguing for letting teams fail catastrophically, right? I'm arguing for managing this in the small, like in the small things. Let them fail in the small things so that they have the motivation to learn and evolve. Sometimes it's, maybe they release every 2 weeks and we do something that is designed to give feedback in less than a week so that they have time to recover before the end of the sprint, as an example, right? So we need to think about, how do we give the support for learning to the team? How do you do it these days, though, Bram? How do you help teams that may be stuck in that projection of fear from their management or even their Scrum Master?
I talk to the manager. I talk to the team. I try to let them see that what is the worst case. So again, we're not talking about critical failures. We're talking about worst case. We lose a bit of company time. We have to redo something. That's like the worst case. And then what are the potential benefits we'll get out of it? And they are a lot higher, a lot bigger than the potential failure brought. And to encourage that, we also introduced a system, a budget actually, for every team member, a very small budget, like 15 euros per team member, that they can spend at their own discretion. And it's with the intent of celebrating effort. if you notice as your team, we did something outside of our comfort zone, we experimented, doesn't matter if it failed or succeeded, but we went beyond or what we do usually, celebrate it, put the spotlight on it. We invited the customers for the first time. We never done that before, and maybe it was great, maybe it wasn't. Let's just celebrate and put a spotlight on that and create that culture of, okay, it's okay to try stuff.
Yeah, it's okay to try stuff, right? And we need to help the team to figure out how to try it safely, but it's still okay to try stuff. Well said. Thank you for that, Bram.
You're welcome.
Tuesday is Team Day here on the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast. But tomorrow we talk about something that goes beyond the work we do with the teams. We will talk about how to lead change and what our guests have learned from leading and participating in change programs during their career. See you tomorrow. We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.